Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and remember, Context is Everything Media Network founder and CEO John Michael is reading a textbook, cover to cover. In order to build my historical context, I'm reading this textbook at the dawn of the Context is Everything Media Network. In the spirit of context being everything, let me do a quick review of yesterday's reading, which was Chapter 16, Section 1, The Original European Conquest of America. Today, I'll do a reading of Spanish and Portuguese colonies in the Americas, so stick around after this review. Here's a review of yesterday, Original European Conquests of America. In 1492, Columbus met the Taíno people in the Caribbean. The Taíno were friendly and cultivated crops, but Spanish conquistadors soon arrived, taking their gold and forcing them to convert to Christianity. Disease brought by Europeans killed up to 90% of the Native American population in the Caribbean and elsewhere in the Americas. Spanish explorers, lured by tales of gold and religious zeal, probed the coasts of the Americas, leading to the arrival of the conquistadors. Among the earliest was Hernán Cortés, who, with the help of the Malinche, that's an individual, it was a lady, native lady, who was the translator and all that, Malinche, arranged alliances with conquered peoples to fight the Aztecs, because the Aztecs did human sacrifices on said conquered people. So they were bitter. Francisco Pizarro arrived in Peru in 1532, capturing Incan ruler Atahualpa and demanding a huge ransom before killing him. Despite resistance, the Spanish overran the Incan heartland and much of the South America, adding to their growing empire. The conquest was brutal and resulted in the loss of countless lives and destruction of the entire Incan civilization. In 1492, Columbus encountered the Taíno people in the Caribbean who were friendly and generous towards the Spanish. However, the relationship quickly soured as the Spanish. I already read that. Spain acquired gold and silver from the Aztecs and Incas, and later forced Native Americans to mine silver in Peru and Mexico. This resulted in yearly treasure fleets sailing from Spain or the Philippines with precious metals. The Philippines, because that's where they had outposts in the Pacific, Spanish, as we read in the previous chapter, which I read as well in this. Please like and subscribe if you feel like you'd be interested in reading an outdated textbook with me. The influx of wealth brought advantage and challenge to the European economy. Okay, that's a review. Now to today's reading. Spanish and Portuguese colonies in the Americas. Spain was immensely proud of its rich mines in the Potosi region of Peru. By 1540s, tons of Potosi silver filled Spanish treasure ships. Year after year, thousands of Native Americans were forced to extract extract rich ore from dangerous shafts deep inside the Andes Mountains. Many Indians died in this terrible condition, only to be replaced by thousands more. Scenes such as this were repeated in Mexico, the Caribbean, and other parts of Spain's empire. A flood of Spanish settlers and missionaries followed the conquistadors. Wherever they went, they claimed the land, its people, for the king and the church. When there was resistance, the newcomers imposed their will by force. As devout Christians, they thought their duty to bring their religion to the civilization was from God. For the first time, though, Christian Europeans had much more to learn from the peoples that they conquered. In the end, the new culture emerged, reflecting European, Native American, and African tradition. Ruling the Spanish Empire, we still have people extracting precious metals from dangerous places, and we use it in our cell phones every day. Ruling the Spanish Empire. In the 1500s, Spain claimed a vast empire stretching from California to South America. In time, it divided these lands into 5 provinces. Most important were New Spain, Mexico, and Peru. Spain was determined to maintain strict control over its empire. To achieve this goal, the king set up a council of the Indies to pass laws for the colonies. He also appointed viceroys, or representatives, who ruled in his name. In each province. Lesser officials and audiencias, or advisory councils for Spanish settlers, helped the viceroy rule. The Council of the Indies in Spain closely monitored these colonial officials to make sure they did not assume too much authority. The Catholic Church. In Spain, winning souls for Christianity was as important as gaining land. The Catholic Church played a key role in the colonies, working with government to convert Native Americans to Christianity. Church leaders often served as royal officials and helped to regulate the activities of Spanish settlers. As Spain's American empire expanded, church authority expanded along with it. Franciscan, Jesuit, and other missionaries baptized thousands of Native Americans in frontier regions. They built mission churches and worked to turn new converts into loyal subjects of the Catholic King of Spain. They forcibly imposed European culture over Native American culture. They also introduced European clothing, the Spanish language, and new crafts such as carpentry and locksmithing. Well, that explains why Latin America speaks Spanish, for the most part. The economy. To make the empire profitable, Spain closely controlled its economic activities, especially trade. Colonists could export raw materials only to Spain and could buy only Spanish manufactured goods. Law forbade colonists from trading with other European nations or even with other Spanish colonies. The most valuable resource shipped from Spanish America to Spain were silver and gold. Please leave a coin in the comments if you're enjoying listening and you're listening still. The coin, if you just go into if you have an iPhone, you can just type in coin on the emoji keyboard and a quarter will appear, and you just put that in the comments, and that'll help boost the algorithm. And I would like to, it's like reading to more people. It's good. I'd like to read to more people. Sugarcane was introduced to the West Indies and elsewhere, and quickly became a profitable resource. The cane was refined into sugar, molasses, and rum. Sugarcane, however, had been grown on plantations, large estates run by owners overseer. Finding a large number of workers needed to make a plantation profitable was a major problem. I know the solution. At first, Spanish monarchs granted the conquistadors encomiendas, the right to demand labor or tribute from Native Americans in a particular area. Sounds like slavery. The conquistadors used this system to force Native Americans to work under the most brutal conditions. Those who resisted were hunted down and killed. Disease, starvation, and cruel treatment caused catastrophic declines in population. Yikes. Bartolomé de las Casas. A few bold priests like Bartolomé de las Casas, demanded the evils of the encomienda system. Condemned the evils of the encomienda system, the slavery system. In vivid reports to Spain, Las Casas detailed the horrors that Spanish rule had brought to Native Americans, and pleaded with the king to end the abuse. Prodded by Las Casas, Spain passed new laws of the Indies in 1542, forbidding enslavement of Native Americans. The new laws were meant to end abuses against Native Americans, but Spain was too far away to enforce them. Many Native Americans were forced to become peons, workers forced to labor for a landlord in order to pay off a debt. Landlords advanced them food, tools, or seeds, creating debts that workers could never pay off in their lifetimes. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's basically slavery, right? Sounds like slavery to me. Bringing workers from Africa. To fill labor shortages, Las Casas urged colonists to import workers from Africa. Africans were immune to tropical diseases, he said, and had skills in farming, mining, and metalworking. Las Casas later regretted that advice because it furthered the brutal African slave trade. Wait, when did that brutal African slave trade start? As demand for sugar products skyrocketed, the settlers imported millions of African slaves. They were forced to work as field hands, miners, and servants in the houses of wealthy landowners. Others became peddlers, skilled artisans, artists, and mechanics. In time, Africans and their American-born descendants greatly outnumbered European settlers in the West Indies and parts of South America. Often they resisted slavery by rebelling or running away. In the cities, some enslaved Africans earned enough money to buy their freedom. Colonial society and culture. In Spanish America, the mix of diverse peoples gave a rise to new social structure. The blending of Native American, African, and European peoples and traditions resulted in new American culture. Social structure. At the top of the colonial society were the Peninsulares, people born in Spain. The term peninsular referred to the Iberian Peninsula on which Spain is located. Peninsulares filled the highest positions in both colonial government and the Catholic Church. Next came Creoles, American-born descendants of Spanish settlers. Creoles owned most of the plantations, ranches, and mines. Creoles. I thought Creole was like a dialect spoken in New Orleans or something. That's why I'm reading this book. Other social groups reflected the mixing populations. They included mestizos, people of Native American and European descent, and mulattos, people of African and European descent. Native Americans and people of African descent formed the lowest social classes. Cities. Spanish settlers preferred to live in their own towns and cities. The population of Mexico City grew so quickly that by 1550 it was the largest Spanish-speaking city in the world. It's also quite large to this day. I think it's one of the biggest population cities in the world currently. Colonial cities were centers of government, commerce, and European culture. Around the central plaza or square stood government buildings and Spanish-style church. Broad avenues and public monuments symbolized European power and wealth. Cities were also centers of intellectual and cultural life. Architecture and paintings, as well as poetry and exchange of ideas, flourished. Education. To meet the church's need for educated priests, the colonies built universities. The University of Mexico was established in early 1551. A dozen Spanish-American universities were busy educating young men long before Harvard, the first university in the 13 colonies, was founded in 1636. Women wishing to education might enter the convent. One such woman was Sor Juana Inés. Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. Refused admission to University of Mexico because she was a girl. Juana entered a convent at the age of 16. There she devoted herself to study and writing of poetry. She earned a reputation as one of the greatest poets ever to write in the Spanish language. Cultural blending. Although Spanish culture was dominant in the cities, the blending of diverse traditions changed people's lives throughout the Americas. Settlers learned Native American styles of building, ate food of the Native Americans, and traveled in an Indian-style canoe. Indian artistic styles influenced the newcomers. At the same time, settlers taught their religion to Native Americans. They also introduced animals, especially the horse, that transformed the lives of many Americans. Imagine never having seen a horse before, and then you see horses, and you think, how strange. Africans added to this cultural mix with their farming methods, cooking styles, and crops, including okra and palm oil. Pretty sure palm oil is very bad for you. Okra, good for you. In Cuba, no. African drama, dance, and song heightened Christian services. That's right. In Cuba, Haiti, and elsewhere, Africans forged new religions that blended African and Christian beliefs. The Portuguese colony in Brazil. A large area of South America remained outside of the Spanish Empire. By the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494, Portugal claimed Brazil. Portugal issued grants of land to Portuguese nobles who agreed to develop the land and share profits with the crown. Landowners sent settlers to build towns, plantations, and churches. The economy. Unlike Spain's American lands, Brazil offered no instant wealth from silver or gold. Early settlers clung to the coasts, where they cut and exported Brazil wood, used to produce a precious dye. Before long, they turned the plantation agriculture to cattle raising. They forced Indians and Africans to clear lands for sugar plantations. As many as 5 million Africans were sent to Brazil. When they say Indians, I'm pretty sure they mean Native Americans. But they might mean Indians. They've been saying Native Americans this whole time. That's the first time I've seen the word Indians in this section here, I think. It's entirely possible that I've read it and I forgot. The thickly forested Amazon basin remained largely unexplored by settlers. However, ruthless adventurers slowly pushed inland. They attacked and enslaved the Native American peoples and claimed for themselves land for immense cattle ranches. Some even discovered gold. El Dorado. A new culture. As in Spanish America, a new culture emerged in Brazil that blended European, Native American, and African patterns. Portuguese culture prevailed among the colonial rulers, but the majority of the people were of Native American and African cultures. Portuguese settlers, for example, eagerly adopted Indian hammocks. A settler expressed his enthusiasm. Okay, so Indian, they mean Native American. This book's from 2001. The settlers expressed their enthusiasm for their culture. Would you believe that a man could sleep suspended in a net in the middle of the air, a branch hanging by like a grape? Here, this is the common thing. I tried it and will never again be able to sleep in a bed. So comfortable is the rest one gets in a net. That's a quote by A Concise Interpretive History by a man named Burns. And finally, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment, a coin in the comments below, please, if you would like. Thank you for listening thus far. This is the final section of the section. Challenging Spanish power. In the 1500s, the wealth of the Americas helped make Spain the most powerful country in Europe. Its lofty position fueled envy among its European rivals. Many English and Dutch shared the resentment that French King Francis I felt when he declared, I should like to see Adam's will, wherein he divided the earth between Spain and Portugal. European nations challenged Spain's powers in various ways. To get around Spain's strict control over colonial trade, smugglers traded illegally with Spanish colonists. In the Caribbean and elsewhere, Dutch and English and French pirates preyed on southern treasure ships. Some pirates, called privateers, even operated with the approval of European governments. England's Queen Elizabeth, for example, knighted Francis Drake for daring raids on Spanish ships and towns. Like the Spanish, the Dutch, English, and French hunted for gold, empires, and for northwest passage to Asia. As you will read, these nations explored the coasts and planted settlements in North America. And that's it. I hope you enjoy. I hope you have a wonderful day. And please leave a comment below about anything. Thank you. God bless. Goodbye. Bye-bye.